Hello, boys and girls, welcome back. This is lesson number 6, troubleshooting prompt issues and best practices for ethical, efficient AI use. So, what happens when something goes wrong? When the AI gives you a weird or off topic answer? That's exactly what we're going to tackle today. How to troubleshoot prompt issues and to follow best practices in order to keep your AI interactions running smoothly. So let's jump in. We're going to look at some key points such as common prompt failures, how to fix them. We'll discuss ethical considerations also, and an important aspect, which is an important aspect of working with AI. And you'll learn about helpful tools and resources in order to optimize your prompt development process. Let's get into it. So common prompt failures, excuse me, vague or irrelevant outputs. The cause, the prompt was either too broad or it just lacked context. So simple fix, just add specificity to your prompt and provide the relevant details and constraints which we've spoken about. Another issue is overly lengthy or a rambling response, which is the cause, no limits on output length or style. Fix, user constraints like keep your answer under 150 words or respond in bullet points. If the AI begins to stray off topic, this is usually caused by insufficient or contradictory instructions. So just check, refine, restate your context clearly, ensure your constraints are not conflicting. Repeating the same content, the cause, the model is stuck in a loop or lacking new info. The fix, provide new context, ask a fresh question, or break down the request into smaller tasks. Simple as that. Diagnosing ambiguous queries. Check your prompt. Is there any ambiguity? Could words or phrases have multiple interpretations? An example, explain remote work for a startup. This could be about management strategies, tools, benefits, or drawbacks. The AI might not know which angle to focus on. Why I said specificity is the key. Ask for clarification. You can prompt the AI to clarify which aspect of remote work do you want me to focus on. Tools, benefits, culture, or something else. And again, iterate step by step. If the AI's answer is off track, break the question down into smaller parts. List the main benefits of remote work for a startup. Now describe the tools needed. Finally, outline any challenges to watch out for. So again, step by step reasoning which we learned in the previous lesson. Insufficient context, identifying it. If your output seems general or cookie cutter, you likely haven't provided enough context. Inject the knowledge domain or audience information. As an example, write a marketing email for a HR software startup looking to attract mid-sized tech companies in the US. Add some specifics in. Mention metrics on cost savings from automating HR processes. Use system messages consistently. If you're working in a platform like ChatGPT, keep a system message like you are a marketing copywriter specializing in HR software solutions for tech startups. So this will ensure, as we've said, provide the AI with role and scenario based prompting, and double check relevance. Ensure you're not providing extraneous details that confuse the AI. So don't do too much essentially. Ethical considerations. So it's important to bear in mind that the person who has programmed these different AIs, they may have included their own biases into the system, or the AI may have from somewhere be picking up some type of biases, and so it's important to be aware of this and to consider this. So biases and fairness. AI models can inadvertently produce bias or harmful content. To mitigate this, ask the AI to check for inclusive language or review its output for prejudice. Provide instructions also to avoid biased terms. So it's very important to especially think about things such as like political views, religious views, things of this type of nature. Data privacy. Avoid sharing personal or sensitive information in prompts, especially if they might appear in the AI's output. Attribution and accuracy. If the AI is generating content that references data or statistics, ensure you verify the sources. The AI may confidently state incorrect information. So, of course, the AI, as sophisticated as they may seem, They are just machines following algorithms, and depending on the source where they're getting the information, if that information or the sources is not correct, then of course your responses also not going to be correct. So always just ensure that you double check, cross-reference the results that you're getting. User consent. If you're building an AI application, be transparent about using AI to generate the responses or content. Tip: many organizations are adopting AI usage guidelines. If you're doing this professionally, align your prompts and outputs with those guidelines to stay on the right side of ethics. It's very important to know if you're going to be using AI for your business or project or whatever it is. So tools and resources for optimizing. Experimentation platforms. There's tools like OpenAI Playground or Hugging Face Spaces, which let you experiment with different prompts in real time. So we'll get into more of these tools such as Hugging Face Spaces, especially when we're looking at the machine learning module. So if you join us for that module, then that's what we'll be speaking about. Tools such as this. Very powerful tool. Prompt validation scripts. Scripts or small apps that generate multiple variations of a prompt to test which performs the best. Version control for prompts. It might sound overkill, but storing prompts in a version controlled environment like Git can help you track changes and revert if needed. So when we talk about version control is essentially what we apply to when we're talking about updates. So it's usually more commonly spoken about when we're talking about things like building an app or a website. You might have different versions which represent the different stages of that website, whether you want to revert back to a previous stage or we want to provide an update to the different versions that you've basically created. So this is what we call version control. So another good example is when if you got your mobile phone, whether iPhone, Android, it will say, oh, we're updating to version 18.1 or 18.2. And so having the different versions allows you to basically revert back especially if something is broken and no longer working. If you revert back to a previous version when everything was fine, then this is sort of the power of having version control and why it's useful in a more common sense. So when we talk about version control for prompts, you might be prompting away and be getting an answer that you quite, is very close to what the desired outcome, but you then go and change something and you're now deviating into strange territories. And so having version control for your prompts allows you to track, okay, so this is what I liked at this stage, okay, and something went wrong. So it's essentially the same thing. That's what I'm trying to explain by having a version control for your prompts. I hope that made sense. Next, prompt libraries. GitHub repos, awesome lists, community-driven, GitHub repos / awesome lists, community-driven collections of prompt examples and best practices. So yeah, GitHub is a tool where you can, GitHub repos or GitHub repository is a tool which has a lot of data, community data, a lot of examples of projects, prompts, things that people have worked on previously, which can be a great tool and resource for you to draw on and learn from. And lastly, community forums. ChatGPT on Reddit, Discord communities, or professional Slack channels can offer insights on prompt engineering tips. So don't be afraid to use and reach out for help in these communities. So recap on the best practices. Monitor your responses closely. Look for subtle signs that the AI is confused or off track. Remember iterative prompting. Check ethical and factual integrity. Always review outputs for bias and misinformation. Reuse and repurpose. Keep a library of successful prompt structures. There's no need to reinvent the wheel every single time. Start simple and then refine. Don't overload your first prompt. Layer in details or constraint as needed. And just a quick recap again. Common failures is if the prompts are too vague, off-topic replies, redundant answers. Diagnosing issues, identify ambiguity or missing details and refine with iterative step prompting. Ethics, watch out for biases, respect privacy and verify the facts. Optimization tools, prompt libraries, experimentation platforms and community forums. Best practice is called start simple, refine iteratively, keep an eye on ethics and maintain a prompt library. And so, yep, that pretty much concludes it for today's lesson, and I will see you over in the next one. Bye bye.